what kind of crazy contraption could be in this bag that will change your camping experience forever. Well, keep watching and I'll let you know. Welcome back to Hiking Gear Unveiled, episode 4, Head to Toe. In this episode, we're turning our attention to the often overlooked heroes of trail comfort, hiking hats, gloves, and socks. We're gonna unravel the secrets to head to toe protection, comfort, and warmth. We've titled this episode Head to Toe. You might have noticed we forgot something, footwear.
Yeah, what about it?
Well, we made the decision to fully unpack footwear in its own dedicated episode because there's so much to unpack there. So make sure you hit the notifications bell for episode 5. That way you'll know when footwear drops.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah. All right, let's start off by talking about headwear. I kind of have like a base layer for my head, and I didn't have one of these, and then my life changed. Merino wool. Actually, this one, it is merino, but I think it's a slight blend to have a little bit more stretch. This one's made by Smart Wool. It's basically just like a skull cap, super thin. It basically is catching all the sweat that forms on my head that would inevitably drip on my face. And even if you weren't bald like me, these can come in handy because moisture's still accumulating on your head. It really pulls that moisture up, allows it a chance to evaporate. But if you are indeed bald like me, it also gives you that added layer of sun protection. This thing never comes off. I wear this day and night, to be honest with you. I think I took it off a couple times to like let my head breathe, but like 99% of the time I had this thing on. I'm a huge believer this thing is a fantastic piece of gear. It really it legitimately changed my hiking experience. I couldn't recommend it anymore. Real basic, highly effective. On top of that layer, we got beanies. So there's all different weights and styles of beanies. Pick what you like, pick what you love, pick what fits your head well. Those are gonna be the most important things. I've only got a couple of details to share here with you, but I think they're significant. One is, regardless of thickness, there's often a layer on the inside of beanies, like a fleece lining. Sometimes that's really helpful because if there's any wind conditions, it's gonna keep that wind from penetrating. I've had lots of beanies that are like super comfy, super warm, and then there's like a slight breeze and my head is freezing. So make sure you at least think about that when you're picking your beanie. It can make a big difference. This is my go-to. This is what I wear 99% of the time. It keeps me warm, especially with the layer that I just showed you before it. Covers my ears, doesn't squeeze my head too hard, all of the above. I've got one other here to show you. This one's wool. It's quite a bit thicker. Its thickness alone is enough to block wind. This one's just gonna work for me anytime I'm in like very cold conditions. It's a notch up from here. Pretty basic stuff, but I just wanted to show it to you. Next thing we're dealing with is kind of neck and head. It's a buff. I have two different buffs here. One is a more synthetic material. It's actually a Buff brand buff. This one's a Smart Wool, so this one's merino. It's gonna have all the properties of merino. Protection against smelling bad at the end of the week. It's got a little bit of stretch to it. It's pretty comfortable. The thing I like about buffs is it's really a nice transition to keep like gusts on the edge of your jackets. Even if you're wearing a hood, there's like this weird spot sometimes. It's gonna do good for keeping that nice and warm. Also, there's some charts out there that show you like 100 different ways you can wear a buff, and it's like, how could this little tube do so many things? We're gonna attach a link in the bottom that's gonna show you like how you can like pull your buff up and then turn down a certain section. It's gonna cover your head. It's gonna give you just this spot showing. There's a couple of ways you can fold it and wear it on your neck. We'll kind of include that so you can get an idea of it. But these are like really versatile. They weigh nothing. It's really nice to have in the kit. They're really great.
Simply amazing.
Next up on head, we've got hats. So I've got a couple different hats here. This is my go-to. Super lightweight, foldable brim. You can pack this away, shove it in a pocket, comes out, works all the same. Ventilated on the side, that way my head's not getting too hot. But I got a little bit of the visor for the sun and that kind of thing. Really, that's all I have this for, is just to keep a little sun out of my eyes. This one is also going to be so thin and so light that it is going to dry out and not stay wet, which is advantageous. A step up from there for a little bit more warmth is this fractal hat that I found. It's got less wicking ability, so if it's hot, this is a no-go. It's too heavy. That said, if it is nice and cool out, this is gonna be fantastic. So it's gonna serve multiple purposes too, because it covers the back of my neck, so it keeps the sun off me, it keeps me from burning back there.
Always thinking, ain't you? Smarts, that's what you got, smarts.
It's a really good piece of gear. I have worn this on non-hiking trips, and like a safari in Africa, for instance, and it was wonderful. Looks like we've covered everything for head. Let's talk a little bit about hands. So I have one pair of gloves. They do everything I need. I'll show you about these specific gloves. They're outdoor research OR gloves, but I want to talk a little bit about other options and then kind of get into these. The other options are basically going to be bigger gloves. They're going to allow more insulation for colder weather. I've talked a few times in some of the other videos where I haven't had the need for anything super heavy duty in the way of warmth. Around 32, just under, is as cool as that is what we've gone after. We do plan on going on some colder trips. Some other gear is going to be necessary. Those bigger gloves are going to be a lot of different features that get different on them. But I'd say one of the things that they do is they generally come down a little bit further, kind of like your ski gloves, and they give that like a little bit extra coverage to come over the jacket. And then they normally have either elastic or some sort of way to tighten them. And then just overall the amount of insulation they have. As far as hiking and backpacking, you normally want to stay away from the heavy leather. You want to find, if you do need a heavy glove, you want to make sure that it's as lightweight as possible. All that said, more versatile, pretty go-to all-arounders that are going to do well at keeping you warm and functioning well with trekking poles. Your hands aren't going to be huge. You can still do a couple things with gloves on, and it's not going to be all that tricky where it would be if you had really fat insulated fingers. And these OR gloves are just like magic. I love them. They've got a good amount of stretch. They're really warm. They're nice and fitted. My fingertips are right at the end. Really hard to beat these in terms of versatility. The one thing I love about the ORs, and the reason I chose these specific gloves, is because on the top here, you have a little bit of a zipper, and inside there is a waterproof outer liner. So if you're in wet conditions, rain, snow, or it's just even colder. I talked to you in the last video about shell layers and how those waterproof layers really trap heat well. You slide these on over the top of your gloves. It's going to give you that waterproof protection. It's also going to give you that just extra bit of warmth. I've actually used these when I had no chance of getting wet, and I was like, if I just had a little bit more warmth in my hands, I would die. So I slipped these on. They really did the trick. I like it because it's kind of like an all-in-one super compact package to have. So I've got good protection here from wetness. I've got good warmth from them, all in a nice convenient setup.
What's next?
After gloves, we're going to go down. We're going to talk about feet. So this is kind of quasi footwear, but since it's not an actual shoe, I thought I'd talk about it in this video. And these are Gators. These are actually more of like a trail running gator. They literally hook up to my Ultras. They fit on Lone Peaks, Temp 4, Temp 5 for sure. They're just covering the ankle. Their main purpose is to keep like dust and debris from getting in the sides of your shoes, and then you're walking with like crud under your feet, which A, can increase your chance of getting blisters, and then B, even if they weren't ever going to cause blisters, it's just like uncomfortable. And then when you take your socks off that night, your socks are like dusty and your feet have grime all over them. These are wonderful. I really like them. I wear them a lot. Like there's been a couple times where I was lazy and didn't put them on. I'll be honest with you, everything was okay, but like I definitely went back and started wearing them because of the reasons I just told you about. Really love these. Another thing about Gators is they're going to be really good in snow. They're going to be a different version of Gator. The principle is the same. They attach to the shoe to cover your ankle. Snow Gators are going to come up higher so that when you step in snow, stuff's not getting in your boots. But I wanted to talk a little bit about Gators so it's something you at least have in your mind when you're kind of going through your footwear in its entirety.
Socks or no socks?
Let's talk about socks. Socks are huge. Socks are fundamentally massive. So keeping your foot from getting overly sweaty, keeping your foot from having blisters, flat out just being comfortable. You got to take care of your feet while you're on the trail. I don't want to over talk about that because I think it's pretty obvious. You're on your feet all day. You got to get it right. So I have a couple different socks here. My personal go-to is Darn Tough. It's not necessarily the warranty of lifetime that Darn Tough offers. If you ever get a rip or a tear for any reason, they like include instructions on how to contact them, and they'll just send you a new pair. Super awesome, but definitely not the reason I go after them. I go after them because they're amazing socks. So Smart Wool, highly recommended. They have got some great socks out there. I've worn them. I've liked them. I wanted to give Darn Tough a try because I'd heard about them, and I probably won't go back. They're insanely good. They've got different weights, and by weights, that's basically your thickness, and that's going to be like, is it warm? Is it cold? How much am I going to want to keep in? For me personally, unless it's below that like 32 marker I've kind of talked about a few times, a pretty lightweight sock is the sweet spot for me. I have these mids for when I'm wearing boots or mid tops, And then I have a slightly lower cut for where I'm wearing my Ultras. I normally wear like no-shows all the time. And I noticed on trail, I actually like that just a little bit extended actually up onto the ankle. That's a personal preference thing. There's no strategy behind that. It just feels right. But something that plausibly some of you might want to think about if you're no-show folks, it's like a little bit different feel when you're outside all day and you've got like potential for like little bits of grass or little pieces of pine cone or stuff like starts getting in your shoe. It's like, oh, I wish I just had like a little bit of ankle on my socks. So find socks that fit you well. Make sure you have a good weight. Make sure that you're comfortable in them. You really can't go wrong here. Okay, guys, highly recommend. Darn tough.
What's in the bag?
So what I teased out earlier, what's inside this bag? Well, here we go. I got a pair of Outdoor Vitals booties, which is just wonderful to say. I feel like a pirate. Booties are pretty sweet. So if you're in ultra cold temperatures, these will save you. Even in a lot of high-end, really well-insulated sleeping bags, your feet are so far from the warmest part of your body that they have a tendency to get cold. A lot of bags do really well to mitigate this, some not so much. Either way, if you ever struggle with having cool feet at night and you just can't fix it, these are a really good option for you. Listen, these weigh nothing. These are so light and they fit inside their own bag that gets even smaller if you want it to. When I carry these, I throw them in the bottom of my sleeping bag when I'm packing for the trip and I just compress them down with the sleeping bag. It's like, I will take them on every trip no matter what because then they're just there if I need them. Having cold feet while you're trying to sleep is the pits. It's miserable. So couldn't recommend more. Tons of different brands sell these. You can even buy ones with more protection on the sole so you can kind of wear them around camp if it's a cool night. These particular ones aren't like that. I just only use them when I go into my bag, but they're great. You will not have cold feet if you wear these. All right, so that wraps up episode 4. Episode 5 is gonna be coming out soon. Make sure you hit that notification bell. We talked about it earlier. I know you did it. If you didn't do it now. If you liked the video, be sure to hit the thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. We've been coming up and up in our numbers of people watching our videos. We still got a very low percentage of people that are subscribed. Help us out, jump on board. Guys, anything we talked about today, if you got something to say about it, thoughts, concerns, questions, put it in the comments. We'd love to see it. We'd love to get involved with you. And as always, guys, keep adventuring.